Well, good evening, everybody, and welcome to a live stream session here. Our internet connection is working much better today than it was earlier in the week. I wanted to make a video on this topic Monday already, but the internet's been cutting it out, and I apologize for such crappy internet, but it's out of my control. I can't really fix the issue. On my theory on why it's not working is that possibly since COVID and all that, where a lot of kids are at home doing their online schooling, and that I'm thinking that has a lot to do with, and a lot of people are working from home over the internet, so that has a lot of factor into why the routers and servers and switches on the internet service provider end are having such a conundrum. Even I don't put out that much traffic here, but enough said about that. So the reason I'm making this video on talking about custom built computers is because we're actually going to build a full blown custom built for a customer. And I wanted to do AMD, but he wanted Intel. No, I didn't force it on him to do AMD, but I just kind of suggested. And he says, nah. He says, I want my Intel ninth gen. And I'm like, you don't want to go to a 10th gen? And he says, nah. He says, let's stick with the 9 for now. So we're gonna go the gigabyte. I think that's what it's gigabyte motherboard. It's the B365 HD3 LGA 1151 Intel ATX gigabyte 8118 gaming LAN Wi-Fi upgradable slot smart fan with the technology of DDR4. So I gotta place the order for the board, and if you get it through Amazon Prime, you can. I currently have it for $94.99. And the reason I was going with a gigabyte because that's what the customer wanted. I already got the power supply installed. We did that in the Thanksgiving, and that was. Let me take a look at my inventory list here. It's nice having a second screen here that you can look stuff up. So that was we went with the APEVIA ATX PRO 600 watt prestige power supply. This was a gaming power supply, and that ran about $54.99. And so far, well, actually, really haven't tested it much, but it was easy installation. You had plenty of different viable options for your electrical inputs and outputs. So you got plenty of SATA, plenty of 4-pin Molex. You got enough pin or connectors to run peripherals like graphics cards and any other customary cards that you may put inside the unit. So if you're looking for a good power supply, the original listing price was $79.99, and now it's down to $54.99. So if you want it for that price, I would recommend ordering it promptly before this deal or this promotion no item goes back up to regular price. And then the other option that we will put in, it's a 5.5 inch It's a EOO CVT multifunction USB 3.0 hub CF. Actually, you got CF card input on there. You got compact flash. You got XD, SD, micro SD, USB 2.0, USB 3.0, SATA ports, eSATA, and then you have 4, and you get a complimentary headphone and microphone port. So for $27.45, that's not bad. There's only a few dollars more than the one I was originally going to put in there, but what's nice is when you use a custom case, you can put just about anything you need inside to match your needs. And so as far as the Intel processor, I'm kind of gearing towards, I would think the i5 would be, it's not going to be a hardcore gamer. So I'll check my messages real quick. Okay, I'm going to call her back, or I'll stop and pay my cousin a visit. So the reason that, so we'll go back to the other page here. Oops. So this board in particular, the processor socket is LGA 1151. So you have to find a processor that matches that compatibility, because if you don't, it's not going to work correctly. And a lot of you out there probably know that already, but it doesn't hurt to make another disclaimer. I haven't gotten the board here yet, but they claim it's good for up to 9th. They say it supports 9th and 8th gen core processors, but I'm kind of thinking we'll go backwards to the 8th gen just to be on the safe side. I don't want to. Processor is actually 5 times more expensive than the board itself. And the processor that he has on the original board that's no longer good, one, it's too old for this board. That board that's in there is roughly from about 2012, 2010, around that era. So, and that's only a DDR3 board, so I also have to order DDR4 memory for the system. So that's also going to be kind of an expensive ticket item. So what you would do is you just get dual channel non-ECC unbuffered DDR4 memory. And this board also features M.2 sockets. And it also features high quality audio capacitors and audio noise guards with LED trace path lighting. I don't think he's going to be using the trace path lighting so much, but it's nice that the capability is there. So with a custom computer, so we're going to get into the financial part of it first you want to sit down and decide how much you want to, or how much you can, not even how much you want to spend on it, how much you can afford to sink into a project like that. You, it depends on how new you want to go and what you're planning on using it for. So, for instance, like if I was going to build myself a custom build, this is just an example. This is not, you don't have to follow, you don't have to do things the way I would design it. But first off, I'd probably go with the Ryzen Core 7 or the AMD Ryzen Core 7 processor and an AMD board. And I'd probably go 32 gigs of RAM and have a RAID 5 configuration, or get a motherboard that had enough SATA ports on there so I can run a RAID configuration, and then have enough to run a bunch of other stuff as well. So I guess you could say if I was going to build a custom build, it'd be a custom built workstation. But that's just hypothetical thinking. So just to kind of give you a rough pricing here, for a configuration like that, you're probably talking close to $5,000 if you're going to build a souped up workstation with 32 gigs RAM and an AMD processor. Actually, the AMD Ryzen Core 7 would actually be cheaper than the Intel Core i9. Or hold that thought for a second. I gotta look that up. I don't want to be giving out false information here, so I'll pull up Amazon here. AMD Ryzen 7. So you got different versions of the Ryzen 7. You can oh, they got the Ryzen 9 on here now. Okay. So some of these you can buy without the cooler, but then you got to buy your own cooler. So personally, if I was going to buy a processor, I'd want the cooler to go along with it, so I didn't have to worry about matching or finding one to match up with. And wow, they got a lot of different selection of Ryzen Core 5s and 7s to pick from. But definitely, you want to buy one with the cooler. And there's some custom builds where you can actually use water-cooled systems and stuff like that. And that's all cool in that, but personally, it's a little too complicated for my taste. I don't think I'd want to go that far as to build something with that kind of. That's just me, but if you're a serious hardcore gamer and you're playing a lot of Fortnite or Grand Theft Auto or Farming Simulator 2019 with not just the basic game itself, but with hundreds and thousands of mods and maps and modes and packs and stuff, yeah, you're probably going to want that because your graphics card and your CPU are going to really be hurting for coolness. And your CPU is going to be, actually, if you got a decent CPU, it won't peg out on you. And if you got a decent amount of RAM, that won't peg out either. So normally I don't do custom built computers, but sometimes you got certain customers that's all they want. And a lot of times you can find a manufactured gaming computer from like Dell or Lenovo, that everything's all OEM compatible. You don't have any wonky potential for custom malfunctions or stuff that go wrong down the road. So, okay, we're gonna get back to, so I would probably definitely I would go with the 4.3 gigahertz processor. Uh, for about $294, that isn't the worst. I remember when, actually, I had a couple of vintage computers one time. They were HP Pavilions from back in the late 90s. They had the K6 AMD processor. And in my opinion, it wasn't the worst, but that was pretty much the milestone for AMD. Well, at the time, everybody thought that AMD was just going to kind of go by the wayside, but actually, in a way, AMD is actually better than, or slightly better than Intel. Believe me, I am an Intel guy. I have not had many AMD computers over the years. I've only had, personally in my house, I probably only had about 4 of them. It was a K6 AMD processor on a Pavilion from the 90s. A 2008 2007 HP Pavilion with Athlon 2 or Athlon 2 processor. That was one of those slim lines. That wasn't a bad processor for the time. And then what the heck? A Lenovo ThinkPad. It's a student edition netbook. That has the A4 processor on it. I still have that, and that actually works. I'm tickled pink with how fast it works and how well it performs. And then here in the office, I got a Lenovo IdeaPad 330 with the A12 processor. Can't complain. Then I recently acquired an HP Compact Pro 6305 with an AMD A6 processor. As far as what that's clocked at, I honestly couldn't tell you. I'd have to turn it on and actually check it. But enough said about computers with AMD processors. So we'll go back to. So here you can get a Core i5 for $196. And that is the i5 96 K desktop processor, 6 core, up to 4.6 gigahertz, turbo unlocked, LGA 1151 300 series, 95 watt. So if I order that right now, that would be here by Saturday. That's a 9th gen. I'm looking for the 8th gen. I don't want to skimp here on 9th. It's just like they got everything but Witcher. Ninth gen. I hear there's slight problems with the Core i9. So I don't want to get a bad reputation here, so we're not gonna shove it. Look at a Core i7 here. I do have to do a little more research on this before I go ahead and buy everything. Just okay, LGA 1151. So what the heck am I? So technically, we could make this work. So for $224, you can get Core i5, 6-core processor with USB 3. So it also has USB 3.1 ports on it. This is actually a better deal than what I was going to do before. So actually, I saved my customer about $150. So if I go this route, you get a board and Core i5. So it's a win situation. I'm reassured that you get a compatible processor with a compatible motherboard, and you still get plenty of ports on or IEEEs and 1394. No, I'm sorry. I mean, you get PCIe, PCIX ports. You got 4 different expansion ports. Plus, there's also looks like an option that you can put, depending on the case, you can put like a riser card style, so you can add more expansion cards to it. Now, personally, I don't know why you'd want to do that on a system like this, because I would think a graphics card and possibly a secondary NIC card, or in a EEE 1394, and then possibly at least those 3 cards for sure. And then you'd leave the expansion for the USB ports on the front. You can never have enough USB ports, in my opinion. And then put the multi-card reader, make sure there's enough graphical power. So, because the problem with the onboard video, or the video built into the motherboard, when you're trying to play games or do video editing, it sucks. So that's why you want the graphics card. So I think we will go with and then it'd be kind of cool if they also lumped in the memory to go with that package deal. But I can always buy that separate. So I'll have to get Amazon cards tomorrow. Get that order placed. That'll be here by Monday. Plus for you get a protection plan with that as well for $44. And I know it seems kind of like, why would you want to do that? But you want for the amount of money that you're going to stick into. So we're going to do a rough tally here. Get my adding machine here. So far, the board itself. So that's $224. And we'll run over the parts that I've spent so far. Power supply 54.9. And adapter for the multi-card or multi-reader 27.47. So far we got about $307 sunk into this so far. So that isn't bad. So we got 4 parts so far. Because we got the case already. Well, case is in good shape. Power button's in good shape yet, so we don't have to replace any of that. I just want to see what memory. So it's dual channel, non-ECC, unbuffered. So we'll figure that out. Whoops. Try it again. Compatible memory. Okay. So according to Gigabyte's website, it doesn't give me a specific number on what. Yikes. I'm not going to spend $145 on a set of RAM. That's out of the question. I hear Corsair is nice memory, but I'm not going to put 140. I'm not going to jack it up just to add 145. I'm not trying to cut corners here, but I feel it's not a. He wouldn't want to spend 145 on. When you're putting computers together for people, you don't want to pat the bill any more than you have to. And yes, I'm a nice guy. I'm not the kind of guy that manipulates people into getting more money than. So I wouldn't do that to somebody, but unless they specifically wanted it, then I do it. But when they tell you to surprise them with a build, you don't want to exactly do things you shouldn't. So check Amazon. Here you can get silicon power ones for. I'd rather find a compatibility, make sure that they're compatible. So the difference between like DDR3 and DDR4 is DDR3 memory modules have a slightly different. The pin out on the bottom is more straight than DDR4. It's curved, and the reason they do that is because they don't want people using DDR3 memory 6 and DDR4 systems or DDR4 boards. It's more of a money generating tactic than. It's getting kind of cold in here. And no, I don't get a thermostat. Only the landlord has control of it. But that could change next year because they got some major renovations that they're going to be doing in the building. Hopefully the rent doesn't go up. That's much better. So I'm thinking 8 gigs. So if you do 16. Here we go. This is what I was looking for. Gigabyte. Well, let's try removing. Yeah. So I got 309 different variances to pick from, but yet when I put the model number in, it can't find. Oh, well, maybe. Let's try 8118. That's not going to help me in this case because well, I think I'm going to finish this off camera. There's a lot more to figuring this out than you can in a few seconds. So we'll catch you later. God bless everybody. Take care, and we'll see you soon.